On February 2nd, Tokyo police arrested Tanimoto Shinji for running a job quitting agency. After that, they sent 100 cops to raid his office. The reason for the arrest? Helping people quit their jobs, which sounds weird until you realize they actually had a really good reason to arrest him. Now, Tanimoto's in jail and he's probably gonna get convicted. So how does helping people quit their jobs end in a prison sentence? Is it illegal to quit your job in Japan? The answer is, it's complicated, but in certain situations that are more common than you'd think, it is actually illegal to quit your job. Let's start by addressing the elephant in the room. Why would someone need an agency to help them quit their job? It's a long story, but the biggest reason is that Japan does not have at-will employment. The good part of that is companies can't fire you unless it's on objectively reasonable grounds. So first they have to document all of your mistakes, give you warnings, and give you training on how to improve yourself. Even if they just want to lay people off, they have to do stuff like cut executive bonuses and negotiate with the unions before they can fire anyone. And don't get me wrong, all of that is good stuff. But companies that want you gone can still do a lot to suggest you fuck off without breaking the law. Since the 70s, the meta has been to just sit you down near the window and give you absolutely no work to do. They call these guys Madogiwazoku, literally window seat tribe, and a lot of Japanese companies have them. A 2022 survey showed 49% of respondents said their company has an old guy who sits there and does not work. And when they ask them, well, what does he do all day? This is what they say. I don't know, man, this window tribe seems pretty appealing. A lot of companies will offer you the carrot or the stick. If you quit and don't give them any trouble, they'll reward you with a severance package. Otherwise, they'll humiliate you in front of your coworkers and make your work life hell. But how does all of this relate to quitting? Well, at-will employment goes both ways. Legally, you cannot quit your job if you don't provide at least 2 weeks' notice. Sure, it's only a civil offense, but technically we've already answered the question of the video. Yes, it can be illegal to quit your job in Japan. But I know you're not satisfied with that answer. Even here in Canada, you're expected to give 2 weeks, even if it's not a legal requirement. Plus, what even are job quitting agencies, and how can someone get arrested for running one? Well, when companies can't fire people, they're incentivized to invest a lot in each and every employee. This means lots of training and professional development, which in turn makes it so you really don't want them to quit on you. Essentially, Japanese companies value your loyalty in the same way that old Tony Soprano values your loyalty. These companies will do anything to get you not to quit. They'll beg you, shame you, they'll even threaten you. Like, if you want an idea of how far these companies will go, back in 2021, Company X put programmer James on a project in a programming language he didn't know and had no training for. When he obviously couldn't perform, his boss started yelling at him and abusing him daily in front of his coworkers. After a few months of this, James was fed up and resigned, giving 1 month's notice. But the next thing he knew, James's boss had locked him in a room and refused to let him out until he signed a paper saying he owed the company 5 million yen for resigning. James literally had to call the cops, who came and forced the company to let him out after 5 hours. At this point, Company X evicted James from his corporate housing and told him they weren't going to pay his outstanding wages because he damaged the door while trying to escape from the room they locked him in. Then Company X filed a lawsuit against James for millions of yen in damages because he quit. Fortunately, after years of legal battles, James ended up winning, and Company X actually had to pay him money. But in general, tactics like the ones Company X used are common and work, giving Japan extremely low rates of employee turnover. Before we continue, a lot of people ask where I find the topics that I cover in my videos. And the truth is, a lot of them aren't covered on the English internet. I mean, learning Japanese is very hard. I've been studying for over 12 years and I still notice new phrasing, nuance, and cultural context all the time. That's why I'm excited about today's sponsor, LingoPie. LingoPie is a platform that helps you learn languages by watching real TV shows and movies, and I've been using it to brush up on my Japanese. Everyone wants to think you can learn Japanese by just watching anime, but it doesn't actually work. Characters talk too fast and it can be super overwhelming. But not only does LingoPie have speed controls in the video, you see these dual subtitles? If you click any word, LingoPie immediately pops up with the definition and creates an interactive flashcard for you.
出会い
ただよ、その道中で何か出会いがあるかもしれぬ。
And if dramas are more your thing, they got those too.
なんだよこれイカサマじゃねえか。
イカ様。
Lingopie has more than 3,000 shows and movies in over 13 different languages. You can try it for free for 7 days with my link in the description, and you'll also get a discount on the yearly plan. Honestly, it's the kind of tool I wish I had when I started learning. But back to quitting your job, because it can be so difficult in Japan, an entire industry has appeared where you can hire a professional to quit your job for you.
私ネクスト。
These job quitting agencies do exactly what their name suggests. They help you quit your job, usually by calling or sending an email to your boss. This spares you from an awkward conversation where they try to pressure you to stay, or worse, yell at you or scold you for your decision to leave. This guy, Tanimoto founded the biggest job quitting agency, Momori, and it was a huge hit. In Japanese, the name literally means, I can't take it anymore, or I've had enough, which just about conveys the value proposition of the company. But Momori wasn't just a company. Its founder, Tanimoto, often said it was a mission to create a world where companies would treat their employees well and services like Momori wouldn't even be necessary in the first place. Wow, what a noble guy. Just keep that in your mind for later, though. So Momori was a big success, and at its peak, it was getting over 10,000 customers a year, most of them under the age of 30. The service charged 22,000 yen, which is not a terrible deal to essentially get out of a bad breakup. And until it got shut down by cops, the agency had over 50 employees, so business was going pretty good. There are, however, some people who really do not like these job quitting agencies, and you might be able to guess who. The bosses.
外食代行サービスの依頼を受けておりまして、お電話をさせていただいておりました。
よくそういうやついるんですよ。自分で辞めたいのに退職する出せないっていうのを強弱したやつがなかなか。だってそういう仕事してて恥ずかしいと思わないのかね。
Okay, so now you're caught up. Japanese companies are so obnoxious to quit that there are companies that'll do it for you. Young people like this service. Boomers hate it. But how the hell did someone get arrested for running one? To answer that, we have to talk about black companies. Black company is a Japanese term that refers to a company that takes toxic work culture to the next level. Stuff like 40 hours of overtime a week, publicly shaming you for not reaching quotas, and of course, doing everything in their power to make you stay. Despite the lighthearted tone of this video, this is actually a serious problem in Japan. These companies will lie to you and even break the law to stop you from leaving. Like, remember how Japan has that 2 weeks notice law? Well, it also stipulates that you have to quit your job properly. You can't, not show up or just sleep on the job for the last 2 weeks. You have to wrap up your work and bring your replacement up to speed. You basically have to help with the transition as much as you can. And black companies exploit this by making that transition process super difficult. Like, your boss might legitimately just refuse to accept your resignation. In fact, many Japanese companies put it in their contract you have to give them 1 month's notice or even up to 6 months. Yeah, actually, I was just looking this stuff up and some of the questions on these legal blogs are insane. One guy was saying his contract required not only just 6 months notice, but his boss's permission to resign, which is like, bro, that's like feudalism.
Work.
The lawyer's answer was no, you can quit with 2 weeks notice at any time. But in this other question, this guy's boss pressured him into giving 6 months notice. Later, he realized he only needs to give 2 weeks, and he's asking, can I change my date? And in Japan, the answer is actually no. Bro, what is this system? And when the rare person does say, fuck the contract, I'm leaving in 2 weeks, black companies will often just threaten to sue. They're not likely to win, but just the threat of a lengthy lawsuit is enough to intimidate most employees and deter them from quitting. For example, in 2017, an employee of Company B developed severe bipolar depression and tried to quit. The company rejected his resignation and sued him for pretending to have mental problems to get out of work. And because he didn't give 3 months' notice, they demanded 12 million yen. 3 years later, the court finally sided with the employee, but only awarded a small amount, nowhere near enough to make up for what Company B put him through. By this point, his mental condition had gotten so bad he was hospitalized and had attempted suicide. So yeah, you might win the case, but it'll take years and cost more in legal fees than you'll ever get back. At this point, you might think I'm about to say something like, employees who want to avoid these complexities and make sure they don't get sued use job quitting agencies to cut through the bullshit and handle all these negotiations with their boss. Well, in an ideal world, you'd be right. But in reality, they can't do that. In fact, this is the job quitting agency's Achilles heel, and it comes from a Japanese law that has nothing to do with employment, the Attorneys Act. The Attorneys Act makes it illegal for anyone who is not a registered attorney to provide legal counsel for any reason. Similar laws exist in most countries, and for good reason. It's very important that people understand their legal rights and let legal professionals handle the important stuff. But Japan takes it very seriously. Providing legal counsel as a non-lawyer is a criminal offense. They are very strict about this. So here's what happens. The job quitting agency sends an email resigning on the employee's behalf, and the company replies, "What about his severance?" Or, "Sure, but according to his contract, he still owes us 3 months' salary for quitting while Mercury is in retrograde." And that is the legal tripwire. The second the conversation turns into severance, damages, contracts, anything like that, it has become a legal matter that only a lawyer can discuss. Momuri must disengage. But what does all of this have to do with Tanimoto getting arrested? Well, there's a piece of information I haven't told you yet. Tanimoto was running Momuri like a black company. So much so that 5 of his employees had to use other job quitting agencies just to quit. Yeah, while Tanimoto was out there saying he wanted a world where companies treated their employees well, he was abusing his employees. This isn't a claim from one disgruntled employee or anything like that. We now know Tanimoto was keeping spreadsheets of every mistake his employees made and using them to make those employees do monthly public confessions in front of the entire company. These confessions went on for 8 hours and attendance was mandatory. Anyone absent would forfeit their entire bonus, even if they used paid vacation that day. Another thing he'd do in these meetings is make them take quizzes on his personal life, like what city is CEO Tanimoto from, what is his dog's name, and if they answered wrong, it would affect their bonuses. At this point, it probably doesn't surprise you, but the guy making his employees do self-criticism sessions did not have a lot of respect for the law. Not only was Tanimoto verbally abusing his employees and forcing them into illegal overtime, he's also been accused of sexual harassment by several ex-employees. So when his employees quit in droves, many of them using other job quitting agencies and telling the press exactly what working at Momuri was like, Tanimoto's response was to sue those employees and file defamation cases against them. But you know what? None of that is what got him in trouble. What the government had a problem with was after Momuri hit that legal tripwire, Tanimoto would be like, "Ooh, I can't help you anymore. You need a lawyer. What about this lawyer?" And in exchange, he was getting kickbacks from this lawyer. That is a very clear violation of Japan's Attorneys Act, which makes it illegal to refer clients or be referred clients in exchange for pay. Which makes sense. I mean, most countries have rules about this. You want people to choose the best lawyer for the job, not the lawyer who bribed some agency to send you over. If you've seen Better Call Saul, you already understand why legal marketing and referrals are so tightly controlled. Now, under US law, Momuri would have probably just gotten, a cease and desist order or something. But in Japan, these breaches of the Attorneys Act are punishable by up to 2 years in prison. And they're taking it seriously when they raided his office with hundreds of police officers. But Tanimoto wasn't an idiot. I mean, he knew he was breaking the Attorneys Act. He was actually warned multiple times by regulators before they even arrested him. The only reason he didn't stop is because he was getting so much money off the referral from the lawyers that he had to keep going. Even after overworking and underpaying his employees, the only way Momuri could make a profit was by upselling and exploiting his clients. So I think it's completely fair that Tanimoto, his wife, and even some of the lawyers who got kickbacks might end up going to prison. We can also finally answer the question of the video, can it be illegal to quit your job in Japan? The answer is, it depends. There are 3 things you need to know if you're quitting your job in Japan. 1. You must give at least 2 weeks notice. Abruptly quitting can get you sued for damages, and although most employers won't bother, it is going to save you a lot of headache down the line. Number 2, black companies make quitting a nightmare. These companies take advantage of rule number 1, using legal threats and good old-fashioned bullying to keep you at your shitty job. And number 3, because of the Attorneys Act, getting someone else to quit for you does not work. You're going to have to amp yourself up, have a drink or a Monster or something, and go and face your boss head on. I'll start with the good news. Over the past 15 years, the Japanese government has aggressively cracked down on black companies and long work hours. As a result, the share of employees working over 60 hours a week has been cut in half, and total hours worked has dropped significantly as well. The bad news is, Prime Minister Takaichi thinks these improvements are a bad thing and wants to undo these regulations to grow the economy. But only 10% of Japanese people actually want this. Hey, before I forget, there's a Japanalysis merch shop now, mostly for designs that I thought were cool and would wear myself. This one's my personal favorite. It was drawn by my friend Eli, who did the art for the Dr. Matsui video, if you remember. Check it out at store.japanalysis.com. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you to all my patrons, including Tier 3's Aetha, Alpha Loves You, Azuma, Das Shige Goomba, Jason That Artist, Mongoose Moose, NCR Trooper Scout, Reese, Niatfer, and Shinseinakin. See you guys next time.